Welcome, 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 welcome. We are live. I am Sarah Olivieri here for you with another Pivot Points broadcast where I give you some of the top tips that came out of the weekly coaching call that I do with my Thrive clients who are CEOs of nonprofits running small, medium, and large organizations, dealing with all the complexity that's involved with running a nonprofit and making a big difference every day with their organizations. And today, a theme came out that I really wanted to share with all of you. It's about being really clear about your goal. And more specifically, because if you followed my work at all, or maybe if you haven't, here's a bonus nugget for you. All goals come in pairs. There's outcomes or results that we want to achieve that we don't necessarily have control over. And then there are the goals of the things that we actually do have control over, like sending emails, making phone calls, doing branding, right? We really want to be clear on the results before we fill up all our time with activities to achieve some sort of goal we had around our own activities, our own processes, our own projects. I'll give you two examples of the importance of being clear about the results that came up today. One was an executive director who really wants to focus on increasing their fundraising revenue. Now, fundraising revenue in nonprofits, there's, a few categories of these, and in order that you should do them in, basically they are major donors, smaller donors. Then once you've mastered those two, then you can either do planned giving is often best next. And then either corporate sponsorships or grants, whichever is more suited to your organization. So in this case, the CEO was all focused on marketing activities around building that smaller group of donors. And we need to take a step back and say, okay, you want to maximize your fundraising revenue. You don't have that much going on. You've never really worked on this before. So are we really going to start with the smaller donor fundraising? No, we're going to start with the major donors. And now that we have cleared that up, there are a lot of activities that this CEO is going to go ahead doing around newsletters and website stuff, more scalable digital marketing activities, which you've probably heard lots and lots about on the internet. There's tons of information, but those aren't the activities that bring in fundraising revenue necessarily from major donors. That's not how you build your major donor fundraising. So we had to scrap and kind of reevaluate all of these activities. But now that we have this clear purpose, not just increase fundraising revenue, but increase fundraising revenue from major donors, which is typically one of the highest forms of return on investment for fundraising and more immediate. Planned giving also has a really high return on investment, but the time to get that return is also quite long. So that's why I don't usually recommend starting with planned giving. So then the other thing that happened in the same Thrive coaching call was around clarity around giving scholarships and what's the purpose of giving scholarships of this organization. And there was a question about, are we giving scholarships just to cover the cost of attending the programming or the events at this organization? Or are we going to give the scholarship that covers like the true cost, travel expenses and things like that? And by kind of really digging back to what's the purpose here, the purpose is to ensure that the maximum number of kids in this case are able to attend this programming, which has both a travel expense and an actual admission to the programming expense. What we got clear on is we could actually divide the fundraising activities for these into two very separate categories. One was a category where the kids who are working together in teams actually do their own fundraising to cover their travel expenses. And the organization would provide support and resources to help those kids do that fundraising. And then separately, the organization would fundraise to cover the program fees for these kids who have raised the money to come to go there. And so getting really clear on what our intent is, what our purpose is, gave rise to a much clearer set of projects, activities, expectations around what work we're going to do in our day-to-day to actually achieve those goals. So those are two examples of what it looks like, real life, kind of the nitty gritty. It's not so exciting sometimes, but it really makes a big difference in our day-to-day lives as CEOs, as leaders, when the stuff that we're doing, the stuff that is filling our time, is ultimately achieving some sort of result that is bigger than us, that is not necessarily in our control, but that's the good stuff. That's the stuff we really want to achieve when we're trying to make an impact out in the world. I'm Sarah Olivieri, and if you want to be in those Thrive calls with me, go to pivotground.com/application to see if you are approved for the Thrive program. And if you just want more tidbits like this, but you'd like them in your email box or reminders, you want to know what's coming up, go to pivotground.com/sign up. The link is in the description, and I will see you next week.